Happy Tuesday, everybody! Woo! What you don't know, and now I'm going to tell you because obviously you didn't want to miss out on some secondhand embarrassment, is I actually tried to start this video saying Happy Wednesday, and then I was like, wait, it's not Wednesday, is it? Like, I don't even know what day of the week it is, which is sad when it's only Tuesday. But I should know that it's Tuesday because it's trivia night tonight. Woo! Cheer for the Badgers! Maybe I'm just confused because, we had a week off of D&D on Monday, so I just don't even know what day it is anymore. And I'm sorry that I have not done Book Monday for like 2 weeks, guys. I will do a Book Monday next week, the likes of which God has not seen, because I have done a lot of reading lately. And that is what you hear right there is my cat getting up onto my windowsill, because it's, despite the fact that it is cold as balls outside, it's still sunny and he wants to check out how things are going. It was like 2 degrees Fahrenheit when I woke up this morning. I don't know what that is in real person temperatures, but it's not nice, and I wish I could say I was hunkering down and not going anywhere today, because as you can imagine, all of the construction sites are shut down because basically work, kind of the rule of thumb for construction work is if it's around 15 degrees or lower, nothing is happening. And that's, I mean, like, I do dirt work, and dirt work basically stops even once you start getting below freezing, especially if there's snow, because if it's frozen, you can't do anything with it. But there are certain things that'll still run, like sub-excavations, which is really cool because you'll see, like, you know, the moving all the soil around and spraying water on it, and because the water's coming from like a hydrant or whatever, it's, you know, normally going to be like about around 50-ish Fahrenheit, so they'll spray the water and then the entire subex will be covered with this really kind of creepy yet cool looking bank of fog. But anyway, when it's below like 15, then just nothing happens, because when you think about it, construction equipment is all diesel, and you don't want to run a diesel engine when it's that cold because it's really bad for it, or it might not even work at all. So, I'm home today, which is awesome, and I actually should have been home yesterday, because yesterday it was snowy and terrible, but I wasn't, and so I kind of want to tell you, like, this is what's going on with me currently. I mean, other than I've been scatterbraining all over the place because I'm trying to get a bunch of freelance work finished before the end of the month, and I'm progressing, so we're getting there. But the other thing that's been going on is that, so at work I'm a field tech, a dirt tester basically is what I do, and my boss asked me if I wouldn't mind shifting over to drilling, which I was kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know what this is about, but, you know, let's take a look at it. And it's not like it was a position that came with a raise. It was just like, you get the same amount of money for doing different work. And I was like, well, okay, I'll see what this is about at least. But there are a lot of things that I really, really value about my position as a field tech. So basically, yesterday was supposed to be the day, and if you're seeing kind of like this weird shifting lights, because I've got those going, I should probably turn them off, but it's not like this is a professional video. If you wanted professional quality shit, you wouldn't be watching my YouTube channel. So anyway, yesterday was supposed to be my big day where I moved over to drilling and got started learning stuff, and got started with my, like, on-the-job training. And first off, just the fact that the drillers were out there in this fucking awful weather yesterday was not a point in their favor, because it sucks that when the weather is bad, I don't get paid, but it's also kind of nice that when the weather is bad, I get the day off. Like, I'm probably not gonna get a whole lot of hours in this week just because it's cold as shit today. It's gonna be like, tomorrow, just in time for it to be snowy again on like Thursday and Friday, so that's great. But anyway, like, I was out there and it was cold and terrible, and I mean, there's part of like the driller job that would be kind of fun where you basically just take samples and you spend all your time estimating like percentage of sand versus fines versus clay, which is a thing I can do in my sleep, because that's basically, you know, I have a master's in geology, which means I spent a lot of time, especially sedimentology, which means I spent a lot of time being like, how much sand is in this thing? You know, let me eat some of it, which is not a thing I would do while drilling, but remember, geologists are disgusting and we put everything in our mouths. So like that part of the job, I was like, that's fine. I could do that in my sleep backwards. But then as the day progressed and I was miserable and cold and going, oh my God, if I took this job, I would have to invest in a lot more cold weather clothing, which is a strike against it because that's going to be expensive. I also kind of came to realize that all of the things that I value about my job as a field tech, basically I would lose. Which is mostly like, you know, I don't mind the work itself, going and testing and occasionally having foremen get in my face, at which point I just get really polite and I say things like, sir, I wish I could help you, but if you have any questions, let me give you the office number because, parentheses, I'm not paid enough to argue with you. Bye! And I have a really good boss anyway. So like, but the thing about being a field tech is you basically go in the morning and they give you your tickets and then you go out and you manage your own time and they leave you the fuck alone unless there's a problem. And they like me at work because I don't generally have problems. So there's like a lot of downtime where, you know, you're between jobs because you had like, the scheduler gave you like a 10 o'clock and a 1 o'clock and your 10 o'clock was super fast and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to eat lunch somewhere in here, but the rest of the time I'm going to, you know, sit and read a book or whatever, or, you know, whip out my laptop and write some chapters. So like, I really value that. I really value the independence. I really value the fact that a lot of times I can go through my day with barely talking to anybody. Like, you know, if I'm on a site, I might talk to the foreman a couple of times just to be, and by talk, I mean, I go over to the scraper guy if I've got a sub X and I'm like, I need 3 holes. You know, as he's driving by, I hold up 3 fingers and then he cuts me 3 holes and I go test the thing. And then I wait at the edge of the sub X and as he drives by again, I go to let him know that it's fine. And that is literally the only communication I'll have with someone all day, which I really kind of like. Because it just means you don't have to mess with people very much. And like, so with a driller job, you spend all the time, like, you are literally outside your truck the whole time, taking samples and talking to the drillers or driving to another site. And I was like, this is not really what I want to be doing when I'm not honestly getting paid that much. Especially like if it was going to be a raise, because it's a position that felt like it would have a lot more stress and a lot more responsibility. Because, for example, you know, you have to make sure that the drillers aren't going to drill through any utilities and that they're all marked. And if you do let them drill through utilities, then it's your fault and you get yelled at. Or if you get a drill rig stuck, then the company has to pay to have it towed out and everyone gets mad at you. And it just seemed like a lot more stress and a lot more responsibility and a lot, and none of what I like about my current job for exactly the same amount of money. So I was kind of like having conniptions about this already when I was already like upset and unhappy because I was fucking cold all day. And, you know, it kind of messed with me a little because the guy who was doing my training, who's a nice guy, but I was like, I really don't think I want to do this. And he was like, well, you know, you can do whatever you want, but you might want to consider like if you back out after only a day, it could look really bad. And I was like, oh God, the head games. And then I was thinking about it. And I kind of went, honestly, if I'm like at this point 98% sure that I am going to fucking hate this job, and my boss already told me when he asked if I would like to move over to drilling or if I would consider it, he even told me, he was like, and if you don't like it, just tell me and we will take you back because we value you as an employee and want to keep you, which was like, oh, you know, that filled me with warm and happy rainbows. But I was like, if I'm already 98% sure that if I give this in a month, I will be like, take me the fuck back, I hate this job. Why don't I just tell them that now? And that way I don't waste everybody's time training me for a job that I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna hate. And, so yeah, basically the long story short, as soon as our drilling was done for the day, I went back to work and I talked to my boss and I told him basically everything I just told you guys, but with less swearing, where it was like, this is just basically nothing that I like about my current job and I'm gonna hate this job and I really don't want to do it. And to his credit, my boss was super cool about it, and he was like, yeah, when I was a drill tech, I didn't like it either. Because there are some people who really, really like that job. I actually talked to one of them yesterday where he was like, oh, I hated being a field tech. It was super boring, which the boring part is the part that is my favorite. And, you know, so I like being a driller because I get to feel like I'm doing stuff all the time, you know, so like if you, you know, and I was like, I'm sure that you will find someone who likes the job as much as that guy does. And that would just be a lot better, because why make me do it? And my boss thankfully agreed with me. So, I mean, I guess basically the lesson from this is that, you know, and part of why I was running in circles yesterday is part of me was like, oh, you know, don't be a quitter, give a thing a try, it's a challenge. And then I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, this is not actually a challenge that I'm facing for personal growth in my own life. This is a thing at work. And what I have learned over, God, I've been basically working, you know, a working adult for like 20 years at this point, 19 years, not quite 20. But what I've basically learned is that, I mean, first off, I've learned that if your job is like horrible and depressing, you know, obviously, like, you have to do what you have to do in order to survive, but it's not worth holding on to a high-paying job that makes you want to throw yourself off a building just for the money. You know, that was a thing I learned in my first job. Like, if you can get a lower-paying job that you would actually like, that will, you know, pay the bills and help you keep body and soul together, then do that, because the money is not worth the psychological and physical damage that you do to yourself. And the other thing I kind of have learned over the years is that you know, the job, you are at the job because they are paying you for your time and effort and knowledge. And you do not owe them anything other than what they are paying you for. And so, you know, I think the guy who was kind of like, oh, well, you know, it's a challenge, face it, you know, it would look bad if you stop. I mean, I understand what he was trying to do, but at the same time, I don't fucking owe my job that. You know, especially when this is not a thing that I had to do. It was, and it wasn't like they were going to pay me more or anything. It's basically like, this is not an opportunity for personal growth on my part that I welcome. This is a thing that I don't want to do, and I'm not interested in being paid to do it, and I don't have to be, so why should I? And, I mean, I think that's thinking that people need to kind of get more into, like, you need to approach your job a little more coldly or cynically. Cynically isn't the word I want, but you have to be willing to do, like, the cost-benefit analysis for yourself at all times. Like, you know, it's great if it's good for the company, but the company is not, you know, like, honestly, the company is not paying me enough to make me really give that much of a shit, other than I hope that it keeps operating because it's a nice company and I really like my coworkers. But as a low-level peon, the effect that I have as a person on the company is vanishingly small, and I'm sorry that, you know, most of the profit that the company is getting is not something that I see. So I don't really have an interest in sacrificing my physical and emotional well-being for the company. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of and I don't think it's necessarily something that happens maliciously, but there is a lot of, like, psychologically manipulative and emotionally manipulative shit that happens when you're an employee for a company, where, you know, they try to make you feel bad for thinking of yourself as opposed to thinking about the company. But the thing is, the company is not your family. The company is paying you for a service. They are paying you for your time, and that is all you owe them. And I recently had a friend mention that, like, the company he works for somebody left and was kind of trying to poach people back by being like, holy shit, dude, this other place, we make way more money. And the company found out about it, and they basically, instead of being like, oh, hey, well, I guess we should raise your wages to be commensurate with what our competitors paying, they were like, no, I mean, you should stay with us because we're the best. And no. I mean, maybe back in the day when, we weren't all scrambling, and there was such a thing as company loyalty, maybe that meant something, but those days are long since gone, and particularly when companies generally don't treat their workers with a lot of loyalty, though, I mean, obviously, like, the one I'm at, they've been treating me really super well, but I also I'm not under any illusions that if, like, shit went sour and they needed to cut people, that I wouldn't be, like, under consideration. That's just how it is. So it's basically like, you don't owe the company any more than what they're paying you for, and they're not paying you for loyalty, and they're not paying you for above and beyond. So you have to always approach this as, is this the best for me, and does this give me what I want for the amount that they're paying me? And if it doesn't, then no. You don't fucking owe them a thing. You don't owe them to go take on a more challenging and difficult and terrible job just because they need someone to, if they're not going to make it worth your while. So that's kind of my pep talk for today. And I mean, I will also admit that to a certain extent it is easier for me because right now, I work in construction, and construction is just booming in Colorado, particularly in the Denver metro area. So basically, I am in this pretty good position as a worker because there are plenty of other places around that would look at the training I have, like, oh, I can use a nuclear gauge and I'm certified on it, so I could, just hire on with them. There are many other places around where I could very easily get a job if my employer just shit on me. So I also think right now employers are kind of having to be a lot better to their people and, more sensitive to what their workers want or don't want. And, kind of like my boss was saying, you're a good worker and we don't want to lose you. So I had the power in that situation to be like, no, I don't want to do this thing. And if you don't want me to quit, then you're not going to put me in it. So that is also a factor of power that you're not necessarily going to have. But, it's also important to think that you do not owe the company anything but exactly what they're paying you for, and you don't owe them to go above and beyond and beat yourself up unless they're going to make it worth your while. And what worth your while means is entirely your own judgment, because only you can do that kind of cost-benefit analysis on, like, is X amount of money worth Y amount of stress? So anyway, that's how it went. And I know Paul was curious about this, so that's why I was like, oh, I better talk about this morning. So basically, I had one day of training and then noped the fuck out, and I'm gonna keep just doing the job that I love doing. And I mean, it kind of worked out for the best because they literally, all they had done was taken my name off my box, and they hadn't even rearranged the name labels or anything. So they just had to put me back on there, and I think Tom, the guy who runs the trucks are part of the fleet, just had to, like, put me back on the list so I could keep my own truck. And that was pretty much it. They, like, hadn't changed anything, so it kind of worked out better for everyone that way anyway. Instead of waiting a month and being like, hey, I hate this, take me back. So that was my Monday, and I'm gonna try to stay warm. Unfortunately, I will be going out because I have to, like, be an adult and take my tax stuff to my accountant, and but it'll be fun because I'm gonna go see my friend and have lunch with her, so it'll be like a good side trip. So anyway, I hope everyone has a great Tuesday, and sorry this was so long, but hopefully you get something interesting out of it, and I will talk to you later. Bye.